So once again, um, good morning, everyone. Uh, Thank you for joining another session of Azure Power Lunch. And as I mentioned a minute ago, this session is being recorded, and we will place the recording on our YouTube channel that you links see here. If you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. Um, so, so let's start with our topic of discussion today. And folks, if you don't mind, if you can mute yourself, I would appreciate. Um, if you're not asking questions. So we're going to talk about a quick recap of Ignite. If you don't know about Ignite, Ignite is Microsoft Premier Conference. It happens once a year, normally in fall, and it's mostly focused on, on all the cloud stuff and, all the platform stuff that we have, the three platforms, cloud platforms that we have. And a lot of announcements happen there. So to be honest, I think we need a few hours if we want to go through every announcement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do like my best to capture all the apps and infrastructure related announcements. That's what we're going to do. And that's what we're going to talk about it. So first of all, in regards to Azure Data Center and a quick kind of a data center related service update. So first of all, a new region has been announced. It's gonna be West US 3. As you know, there is a West US, there's a West US 2, and this is gonna be a West US 3 region based in Arizona. And big thing is this is gonna be a fully sustainable data center. So there is like zero carbon footprint. That's what we are going for. Um, and this is going to be based on Arizona. So this has been announced. It's not made available yet. As we hear more news about its availability, you will, just want to follow the Azure Update site. Second thing is about availability zones. If you don't know about availability zones, basically they provide um, um, HA capabilities inside a region. So, we have Azure regions, and they have zones. Each zone have a separate power and network provider, and then inside those zones we have one or more data centers. So basically, our goal is to have zones in every uh, kind of a global region that we have, and uh, you know to follow up on this effort, this September, two region will get availability zone, and they are here, Canada Central and Australia East. So basically, that will bring up to our regions with zones to 14. Okay. Azure Orbital. So this is a service that Microsoft has announced, which kind of helps um kind of organization who want to develop satellite data set, because now you have connectivity. What we're going to do is we're going to set up connectivity to these satellite ground station and bring that data directly into Azure so you can work with that data. So this is basically, if you are familiar with AWS ground station service, I think it's with the same name. That's one of our, that's the competitor. So there's a race going on between, of course, Azure and AWS to cover as much um, area as we can. So that's one of the service that directly competes with AWS ground station service. Any questions? Okay, doke. So on the Azure stack, so as you know, there are three um, kind of under Azure stack. There are three uh, 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 product families, or there are three products under Azure Stack product family. Number one is Azure Stack Hub. Number two is Azure Stack HCI, and the number three is Azure Stack Edge. Azure Stack Hub is basically, you have infrastructure that you can deploy in your own data center. This is basically a set of infrastructure that you get from Microsoft or our approved vendors, and you deploy it in a data center. On the other hand, Azure Stack Edge is lightweight infrastructure that you can deploy at edge location. On the other hand, Azure Stack HCI is a software and hardware combination. Think of it, it's a virtualization infrastructure that you have in your data center. In any case, this is not meant to be an in-depth discussion on Azure Stack. What you may want to know is that now Azure AKS Managed Kubernetes is now available on Azure HCI. So if you are or your customer running Azure Stack HCI, it's now in public preview. And at the same time, Azure Stack Hub has now GPU support. So you can have GPU workloads that you can run in Azure Stack Hub. And same thing, Azure Stack Edge. So basically, this is specifically for a scenario where you want to run kind of intensive machine learning workload at the edge. So think of it like if you have this automated car scenario where you want to kind of detect if there's an object in front of the car is a person or kind of or some other object or it is not an object or something kind of that the car can go through or it's just a shadow. In that case, you want to analyze the data as quickly as possible. So you have edge location, which are analyzing this data, and that's the that's the use case that it addresses. So it lives on the edge. So it's kind of deployed at the edge location and process the data faster without sending it back to the cloud and bringing it down. Okay. Let's move on. Azure Arc. As you know, we announced Azure Arc a year ago, and the goal of the Azure Arc was that it provides the ability to manage on-prem infrastructure or infrastructure in another cloud in a single pane of glass. So that's what Azure Arc the goal of Azure Arc is. As you may know, when we started with Azure Arc, we had Windows and Linux virtual machines that you can manage with Azure Arc. Now they have gone GA. We have data services like SQL managed instances and Azure Postgres hyperscale that you can run on-prem and still manage them inside Azure Arc interface. So this is currently in public preview. So this is one of the big update on the service. Okay. Continue to move. So, I mean, as you know, Microsoft is a platform company, and our goal is every application. To make make it easy for developers. Provide services to developers so they can develop their application, make them organizations, persons to do more. And that's where this, I love this Azure Communication Services. That's where it's coming from. So this is the same infrastructure that is powering our Microsoft Teams. Now it is made available for developers and organization to use. So you can have the same real-time data, audio, and video communication that Teams uses. You can use it. You can take advantage of it, and you can run your applications, and they can use messaging and kind of a real-time video chat and audio communication capabilities that you can only do through Teams. Now, same things that are available for your application to use. So, for example, let's say if you are developing a customer service app, now you can build in right there in their ability to talk directly to a customer service representative instead of going out and making a call through your phone. So that's a very powerful thing. It's currently in public preview. I think the ability to get a phone number, it's gonna be available next month, but check it out. I mean, there are kind of a number of features which are right now available in public preview. So, any questions? Okay, so Azure Defender, that's not a new service, but basically that service has kind of a brand new scope now. It's with its integration with Security Center, it provides the ability to um, protect cloud workloads. And the expanded scope is servers, app service, storage. So all of these services are you can use Azure Defender to kind of protect these workloads if you have your workloads deployed in these services, and sits integrated with Security Center. So you have only one place. You don't have to go to multiple places. You just go to Security Center and get all that information about any alerts or vulnerability that you may have. That's a screenshot of the service that we have here. So go ahead. A question?
Yeah, so it says hybrid workloads. Does that include servers that I may be managing using Azure Arc?
That's a good question. I think so, but since it's in public preview, I can confirm, but I can check. I don't have an exact answer, but I think it should be able to do that.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So you didn't have. Okay, so I mean, this moving resources from one resource group to another or one subscription to another has always been a challenge. Whenever you try to move resources, sometimes there are dependency which are left, and then when you and it becomes a huge challenge, and it's very hard sometimes that, okay, I moved a resource and now I need to clean uh, the previous or the any resources that I have in my own resource group. How do I do that? This thing makes it simple. Okay, it allows you to move resources from across region, across subscription, and across resource group. And basically, if and it provides you guidance. I mean, that's the main thing. So if you have guidance where it kind of tells you what is the best way to move a resource. If it is through Azure Site Recovery, then it will, it will take you to that resource, or recommend that. Or otherwise, before moving the resources, give you a complete picture. What are the dependencies? If there's a dependency that you only know about because this is not a dependent Azure, let's say you are connecting to a database or something, or some resource through a connection string, and it's not there in that some other resource group, then you can add that dependency. It will show you how the move will look like once you move from one side to the other. So it kind of gives you a simulation of that move, and then you can do the actual move and actually delete the resources. So I think it's a very helpful, um, um, hopefully kind of makes it easier as customers try to move their resources from one region or from one place to the other. And I think it's a more complete solution that we have of any solution that we had in the past. Okay, app service update. Not a huge list of updates, but some are very, very important. First of all, reserve instances. I think it was an ask, a number of customers asked like they need to reserve instances support for app service, and now it is there. So you can do reserve instances with app service. Second thing, and I'm gonna go with the isolated V2. What is isolated V2? This is app service environment V2. This is based on the VM scale sets. So this is something that basically the next version of app service environment. And the beauty of this environment, the way they have implemented it, that you have separated the control plane traffic from the data plane traffic. So if anyone who has deployed ASC v2, you have to open a lot of inbound and outbound ports. You have to set up NSG and you have to do that dance to make sure that management traffic can go. I mean, you can put the ASC inside an internal VNet, but still you have to open that port. And that was a challenge for a lot of customers because any port that you miss and suddenly your ASC becomes unusable. And then you have to figure out, okay, yeah, we have to open this port and that port. And with this one, since the traffic will go on a separate plane, this will make that need for having opening those ports, there is no longer need to do that. So this is, I think this is one of the big improvements. And as you look at the cost, they have taken, it will almost 80% reduce the cost because some of the enhancements they have made in the architecture. So this way, you're basically, it's much cheaper, easier to configure, and I would say kind of much more palatable for security and privacy conscious customer. So I think this is a big enhancement from the app service environment. It is gonna go in public preview next month. So I think it will be worth it. And probably we'll do a Powerland session specifically on this topic once that become available. And then App Service Premium V3 plan, which basically allows for larger memory size, and you can stretch up to 32 GB. It will be cheaper than the P1, the PV2 plan that we have, Premium V2. So it's worth taking a look. And I think it's available in November, as far as I know, or late October. Okay. And of course, Windows containers are generally available now, and you can take advantage of them. They have been in preview for some time, but now they are generally available. And there are things around GitHub integration as well as the ability to migrate, uh, um, enhancing the ability to migrate Java workload into Azure. So now there is support for Java Tomcat migration and App Service Migration Assistant. So it can detect and kind of guide you through how to best migrate your Java application from on-prem into the cloud. So I think the two biggest one here are the ASCV2 and the ability for premium availability of PV3 plans. So these are the two big things in this particular update. Any questions? Okay. So people who have played with logic apps use it for the customer. One of the big customer demand was how we can deploy them inside a virtual network or how it can connect to virtual network. Yes, there are ways you can use integration service environment, but some customers said it's very expensive. I don't have that big of a workload to justify size of the workload to justify the need of a dedicated environment. And so what are other ways of doing it? So now, I mean, I think, and I played with this, last night. This is fantastic, I should say. What they have done is, you can run now logic apps the same way you run functions. So you can deploy, so you can run it. It has full VS Code support. You can debug your logic apps locally, and when you deploy it, there will be option to deploy in AKS, in app service plan, or in premium functions. So right now, the two options that I saw are premium functions and app service plan. And you just deploy it, you create an app service plan, deploy it, and basically it inherits all the characteristics of the hosting environment. So what that means, so let's say if your app service is integrated with VNet using VNet integration, a regional VNet integration, it will integrate with VNet. And if you create a private endpoint, now your logic app has a private endpoint. So that's the beauty of this thing, where you don't have to, I mean, you don't have to wait for private endpoint to be available. Just deploy it into using the mechanism that you're most comfortable with, AKS or premium function or app service, and voila. I mean, you will have the support that is available for that particular environment out of the box. You don't have to do anything. So I think this is a big enhancement, and I think this is gonna skyrocket Logic App use. And of course, I definitely want to mention they have made some enhancements into Designer. So if you have a very large workflow, it kind of makes it simpler to design. But in any case, I think it's definitely worth taking another look. If you were blocked because of the lack of private endpoint, private connectivity, or VNet integration, things like that, definitely. I think it's going back and taking a look because this big enhancements that they have made here. Okay, with AKS, there was a big always customer asks this like, okay, this is our test AKS cluster and we are running 4 or 5 nodes in there. Is there a way to stop it when we are not using it? Now the start and stop ability to start and stop the cluster is available. So you can start or stop your cluster, and that's a big thing, kind of to save cost. So you can basically put on some sort of an automation where you stop the cluster at night, start it in the morning when your developers are working with it, and you will pick it up where you left off. Okay. And of course, the Azure Policy add-on for AKS is now GA. Okay, now I will mention, by the way, these are not small updates, but I just want to mention it here. One of them is .NET 5. So as you know, the effort to consolidate all .NET frameworks, .NET, .NET Framework, .NET Core, Mono, all of this, to put all of them together so you can use it to build web application, to build desktop application, to build mobile application, single page apps, all of these on any device that is available, on all the devices that are available, is that's the goal of .NET 5, and this is one step in that direction. It is currently feature complete and will be available on November 10th. We will be having a .NET Conf. So this is a yearly virtual conference that .NET team hosts, and basically that's where they're going to be announcing the general availability of .NET 5. So there are, and some of the key enhancements are smaller sizes of the overall runtime, and you can now have like a single file. So instead of like executable and then libraries around it, you can have a single file, single executable file, which has the entire .NET or whatever .NET components that you need inside it, and you can run it. And it has support for ARM64 as well. So there are so this is kind of a big release .NET 5, and that's, as I said, the kind of the path is to combine all the .NET frameworks, so you don't have to worry about, okay, I need to use .NET Framework or .NET Core or Mono. You just need one framework that you use. Okay. A big customer ask was, we need private marketplace. This is now available in preview. Just keep in mind, at this point, it will be available for entire tenant. So you can just enable it, and then you can start deploying your curated, marketplace items into this marketplace, so your organization can take advantage of it, and they don't. And these items are focused for your organization. I'm sure you have heard about it. There is an Azure VMware solution. This is a first-party Azure Azure solution. Basically, this is VMware hosted in Azure Data Center. This was announced a few months back, and now it has gone into GA in the following region. As you see here, this basically extends the capability to host VMware workloads in Azure. So you can extend those workloads now from on-prem into Azure. So this is now has gone into GA. Okay. So basically, was a quick recap of all the items. Any questions, first of all?
Hey, Naveed, with the AKS update on the POS, do you have any idea what happens to the cost while the POS is, done?
Yeah, exactly. If the AKS is stopped, then you don't pay anything.
So the reason I asked that is, I kind of presume that some storage will still be, be consumed if all the configuration is maintained. So I'm like curious whether we charge for that aspect or we totally, don't charge for anything.
As far as I know, okay. So let's say if you have some storage that is shared across your nodes, you will still be charged for it. Okay. But VMs, once they are stopped, they are stopped. Yeah. So they're because major cost is the VM. I mean, the way you look at it, I mean, I have so many customers I have worked with. Every time, if you look at, any customer bill, it's 80% compute or compute related services. So yeah, I mean, if you can bring that down, that's a big deal. So yeah, the compute charge won't be there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good one. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Naveed, how could we get a similar update for the data services?
Is the slides?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, so probably we will do, next week on data services. How about that?
Sure, Naveed, thank you.
And by the way, these are the two sites. One is the Ignite 2020, all the sessions on demand available here for free. Second one is Ignite Book of News, and this is what it is. You can go here, and they have done it really nicely. So there are not only kind of announcements, but at the same time there are, okay, what more to do, what more to learn. So I mean, you can kind of, there are links available. So okay, learn more about this update. So this is the link to the blog post or the link to the actual service. So I will push out the link to this presentation. I mean, or you can just Google Bing Book of News and Ignite Book of News, and you can find that link. So yeah.
Good, Naveed. That will work. Thank you.
Any other questions? We have 1 more minute to go.
Hey, Naveed, thanks for the slides. Like, are these slides available for public?
Yeah, as I said, yeah. So I will I will upload the slide link. It will be in the description of the session on our YouTube channel. So yeah, just.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. And I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. Thank you for joining. And I'll see you for another session of Azure Power Lunch.
Thank you, Naveed.